All right, we'll call the Tuolumne County Transit Agency meeting to order. With that, anyone from the public wishing to speak, this would be your opportunity. Under public comment. Seeing none, I'll go to consent calendar. Well, there are 6 items. All right, consent calendar. Approval of the October 14, 2015 meeting minutes. Adoption of the proposed schedule of the TAC and the CAC and the TCTC, TCTA meetings dated for calendar year 2016. Approve the Tuolumne County Transit Agency Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Agreement for Federal Transit Administration grant recipients and authorize the Executive Director to execute the agreement. Item 5, report on 2015 YARTS services and approval of letters supporting expanded services from Tuolumne County. And item 6, Tuolumne County Transit Service updates for ski bus service for the upcoming season and various special event services.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Item 7 under the regular agenda, Tuolumne Transit Center Project Status Report, Cost Estimate Review, and Consideration of Revised Financing Plan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As you might recall, we are developing a transit center down at the Law and Justice.
I don't think that mic's working, Darren. Is it?
I think it's working.
Okay,
Maybe I'll pull a little closer. How's that? I'll start over. As you might recall, we are developing a Tuolumne County Transit Center at the Law and Justice Center. We have progressed to 75% design, and we have updated cost estimates. I'm going to ask Tyler Somerset to kind of review the design and those cost estimates with you, and then we'll go over what our next steps are and what I'm asking for tonight after that.
All right, members of the council. So before you today, we're looking at what will be the central hub of the Tuolumne County Transit System. Currently, our operations are split between 2 different locations downtown at Courthouse Park, and then up in the Walmart area, Crossroads Shopping Center. So this facility will allow us to operate one central hub where we won't negatively affect the downtown operations or businesses in the Walmart area, and we can stack up all of our buses at one time. This will give us efficiencies in the transit system. So when we saw the opportunity to get some property out at the Law and Justice Center, we jumped on it, of course, with your support and direction. So what I'd like to do is just give a quick project recap, and I'll do that through some of the visual aids that are on the wall, and then we'll get to the cost estimate, and then we'll be looking for some direction from the board on how you'd like us to move forward. So the facility as it exists at 75% conceptual design. That mic's
The
always
light.
on.
The light.
Oh.
The light.
So there's some general orientation first. So the campus here is just south of the 108, State Route 108. The Juvenile Detention Center is just up over here. And this is Justice Center Drive, which will be extended, and then future access to the future facilities on this campus, which will include the jail and some of the administrative buildings. As you can see, we've got enough curb length here to stack 4 of our large buses up all at one given time. This will allow all of our services to operate out of this facility, including the Yosemite bus, which operates from May to September, which is a large coach, and the ski bus, which operates over the winter, which is another one of our larger buses. In day-to-day operations, it'll facilitate one transfer for all of our fixed route services. Currently, we have 6 different routes, and most of those routes will serve this facility. 2 separate structures on the property. One is a formal transit center or facility here, composed of 2 buildings, 2 rooms, and we'll get more into that. And then a shade structure that also complements that as part, again, of one area here that provides access to the rest of the campus. So as I mentioned, the building here, the transit center itself, We'll have both an indoor air-conditioned waiting space and an open-air protected space for folks to transfer at. Facility will have both a men's and a women's restroom, seating. It'll allow for a staff person to sit at the building itself and answer questions, possibly sell tickets, or even house like a community social service agency or others who want to do outreach as part of this facility here. There'll be information posted on the wall in the form of like a flat screen TV that will have all the upcoming bus arrivals and departures. Water fountain, Wi-Fi, so folks can work if they're on their way maybe to college or have other things that they need to be online to accomplish. And then in front of you, you have these images here, and this is just a further breakdown. As you can see, the facility itself has plenty of windows. Its location at the Law and Justice Center offers really phenomenal views of the surrounding foothills. And we're excited about the facility because of it'll be integrated as part of the Fuller campus, and it'll help serve the needs of the transit system itself. Should also mention there will be bike racks, water fountains, and an outdoor kiosk here where folks can also get information about arriving and departing buses and the other services that we offer. Anything else you want me to touch on as part of the facility itself?
Connectivity to the rest of this campus.
So from the main plaza area here, as folks board and alight, they will be able to get down to the courthouse itself, which will be here. There'll be a sidewalk. They can walk down to the Juvenile Detention Center. There'll be connectivity through this area here down to 2 county administrative buildings. And then even further south here will be the jail facility itself. So pretty central within our service area, and we think will allow again, a lot of our services to meet and then spin folks off into the various routes and destinations that they have in the community.
I had a question for you, Tyler. On this downtown here, we're picking up now alongside here, alongside Courthouse Park. They're not going to give that up, are they?
Yeah, at this time, we
because
like...
what I'm saying is that there's at least 3 to 4 people that I see most every morning when I'm having coffee at the Heart Rock with the gang that are waiting for that bus.
Right.
And they just walk across the street. 2 of them are in walkers.
Right.
So I hope you don't give that up down here.
Yeah, it'll remain a route stop, but it won't be the busy kind of
Okay.
facility that it is
Yeah, I
currently.
wanna know
We've
we're
got
gonna
a
leave that parking space off in front of Memorial Hall too? Or can we put that back on? You'll need that to still turn the buses up when they go to Columbia, I guess. Okay. That's it.
Okay.
And one last item before I leave the facility itself. There will be a number of security measures in place. There'll be 2 blue lights, one out here on the exterior of the building and another one on the interior. And then there will also be a series of closed-circuit cameras that'll watch both the bus loading and unloading zone, the transit facility itself, the shade structure area. And so there will be plenty of mechanical eyes as part of the facility to help keep tabs on, everything that's happening on campus.
Tyler, when you say blue light, is that like blue light with a phone that picks up and dials someplace?
Exactly, and
Okay.
typically it's, as soon as that phone is picked up, it's got a direct line to the sheriff's department or Sonora Police, and so that's the way those blue lights would operate. Thank you.
Questions?
Not on this particular part, just when we get going, maybe.
Okay. So if there's no questions on the actual design, we can start talking about some of the costs associated with that design.
Okay, well, maybe let's talk about the design part a little bit on the outside structure. Probably here somewhere, but what are we facing the underneath of the roof with?
That wood material right there,
The wood for the outside?
that is what's presently proposed, and we've highlighted that as a potential area that we could change the material and save some dollars.
Yeah, my concern with that is the staining due to the weather, the wind and
The
water
maintenance
getting up
long-term.
in there. And I don't know if Mr. Canning can come up with something that would look like the same thing. I'm thinking something like a
They have composites.
you know, instead of the wood would be, I don't, cost-wise, I'm not sure, but I don't think that's a good idea for an exposed roof.
Yeah.
2 cents, just know enough about it to be dangerous, you know that.
Fair enough.
Any other questions?
I had a question. We're not into the architectural costs yet, are we?
Not quite yet, Ron.
That's not,
Yeah.
we're not.
If you'd like, I can go ahead and move into that as part of the.
Seemed like a lot of money in the architectural costs.
Okay, hold on. Are you ready to move into that? Let's
I
get
can
you
take the
started,
question.
so we don't get one ahead of the other.
Yeah, right now, we're showing on the design phase that we've expended $99,593, and the cost is $183,540 for that. And then there would be construction engineering, when we're in construction, there would be another $30,000 of oversight and just watching the site and kind of managing construction
How much
components.
did it cost to design this now?
$183,540.
Wow.
And that was a contract that you guys looked at and supported back in the spring, I believe. And that the contract's actually with through the county. We're using the architects that the county used on many other elements of the Law and Justice Center. But we did have a say in that contract and accepting that contract before the county did.
It's pretty close to industry cost, what we're looking at when we looked at it in the beginning.
Yes.
So we knew what it's going to be.
And that was
Roughly
competitively
10%.
bid at the time, back when the county did it. Or an RFQ, I should say. So, let me first review some of the things that we've noted. First, that we had a budget of a little over $1.3 million, and the site construction was first estimated at $925,000, and that was released back in May 2015. The most recent cost estimate shows that the construction cost of the facility is going to be about $1,861,312. That's a considerable cost increase. And with contingencies, and by the way, that's an escalated cost out to about June is when we expect to put this out to bid.
And we're required to put that escalation in there in accordance with where the funds come from, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Certainly, we could not put it in and have it in contingencies, but I think it's just prudent to do that. And then we do feel that there's a need for contingencies out there. I think Supervisor Gray can speak to the issue of rock out there. There's been considerable rock seen, and we're in the foothills. So we believe it's prudent to have a contingency, and right now we're recommending a 15% contingency. I've seen some projects with as low as a 5% contingency, but I would recommend a higher amount myself. So that would bring us up to $2,105,161, and that does not quite include a tight cost estimate for what we call our low voltage system, which is your security cameras, intrusion detection, and as well as some of the computerized systems in there. We're still working out those details with IT, but we preliminarily give it a number about $50,000, but that could change. We will do another cost estimate as the project gets ready to bid. What we did notice from the prior estimates to the current estimate is that it did miss some things. Like, for instance, it didn't have what's in there now for storm drainage, $43,000. Our landscaping budget went from 10,000 to 20,000. We did make a decision to go from 2 small shelters to the outdoor shed structure. That's a significant cost increase from about $43,000 to $270,000. On-site walkways to good connectivity, both within the center, but also connecting back out to different elements of the Law and Justice Center. We greatly expanded the walkways at a cost of about $50,000 increase. There was a small item related to curbs not being in there. Lighting, I was really disappointed that in some of the lighting that first was proposed in the lighting plan looked to me to be inadequate. I asked the question, what's the lighting standard that you're meeting? They didn't really have an answer for that. We looked it up. I think it's a 1-foot candle requirement for transit depots per the Federal Transit Administration. They had to redo their lighting system to ensure that that level of lighting is in all areas of the facility, including and most importantly on the boarding and lighting places, because we do have a lot of claims and falls getting on off the buses. So we had to add a lot of lighting. That was an additional cost of about $60,000. Plumbing costs grew a little bit working with our facilities management folks, but not too significantly. Our seating budget grew a lot, and I would like to review seating at a later date to see if there's maybe, if we're keeping in sync with what the board would like to see in those costs. You noted this, the ceiling material, that is at a cost of $57,000. We had just gypsum board, which may be a little bit on the plain side, but it was only $2,400 in the original budget. So that's a big cost item that I'd like to get some help on. Again, exterior of the building grew almost $100,000 or $90,000. We can maybe look at what is our, are we getting a good look for the building at a reasonable cost? Again, I can use some contractor experience in that regards. The glass, I'm not sure how much we can do there. I'm told that we have to have that specialized glass right there. Has a lot of UV protection. It's the new building code requirement. It's very expensive. The glass cost went from about $36,000 to $84,000. Now, one thing that I've kind of conceptually thought out is maybe on the kind of the enclosed patio room, so to speak, of the building, maybe we take windows out. We could save some money there and just keep it a little bit more open air. We could even get rid of the roll-up doors there and just keep it more of an open or a semi-enclosed patio to save a few bucks. Those are just some of the things that we noted early on. I don't want to redesign the project from the dais, but I also recognize I have very limited, pretty much no experience with building delivery and project delivery in this regard. So I'd welcome the opportunity to tap into some of the experience of board members that have decades of building experience. I've already had some initial discussions with Mr. Canning about helping us, and maybe perhaps Evan or even you, John.
I would suggest that Evan, I've been out of it for a while, and a lot of things that they're doing now are different than what I did 8-10 years ago. So we just got to get him here.
Okay. In my
I don't know how Bill feel. How do you feel, Bill, about working on that?
Oh, no, I told Darren I'd be more than happy to help him.
So that would be my first recommendation, is that I work with Evan and Bill and the architect and perhaps the cost estimator, and we go through the project page by page, so to speak, and we look for opportunities where we can save some money if appropriate, and but continue the design so that we don't get we don't want to miss any timelines here.
That's important, and also you don't want to destroy the character of what you started with, because this looks like it fits in pretty well with what we're looking at.
That's been our thinking all
on
along.
the jail. So to put a Quonset hut out there, I guess.
Hey, Darren, why the change? There's a lot of changes here. I'd like to hear some of the background on, only if you're ready.
Sure.
But one of them is, I'm looking at 2 small shelters for $43,000, became 1 large shed structure for $270,000. Is there some rationale behind some of these changes? Are they all requirements? I mean, just looking at the dollars, the questions start popping.
It's not a requirement.
Ron needs to go.
Well,
It's not a requirement. We did visit some other transit depots. We went to Porterville, I went to Lodi, we certainly up to Amador, and what we found is that they tend to keep more open area, larger area seating as opposed to more of a transit shelter, which is a 5 by, I think it's, or is it 8 by 10 little transit center that handles 3 or 4 people kind of crammed in there, which is fine on a route stop where you usually aren't picking up 1 or 2 people anyways. But this is a center that's going to be designed to handle, we see sometimes 15, 20 people right down at Courthouse Park, and we do not have our route transfers optimized very well. I think we could easily see that number grow a little bit. And then, of course, we're thinking you need to build for the future. So we felt a larger space area that provides much more seating is appropriate. Certainly, we could eliminate that structure and build it at a later date. I'd discourage that because we have kind of these capital dollars now that are bond money. You get them one time. If we don't use them, or if we cut the project, now where do you get your capital dollars later down the road?
no, I get that. Okay.
So that was the thinking there. But that is a key item that if you want to cut that, that'd be a good thing to hear tonight.
I wasn't asking to cut. I was trying to get some of the background or the rationale for some of these changes and these increased dollars.
Sure.
That's really what I was trying to do.
Sure.
I'm not trying to cut. Ron, is this the time you need to?
Yeah, I guess I better go.
Okay, we're going to take a minute while Ron has another meeting.
Okay.
I'll be back.
I'll be back. All right, so what's the action or?
Let me, so the first thing I wanted direction was to work with members of the board and our architect to look at the design and look for ways to save money, and I've got that direction.
Okay.
The second thing is on the financing. We are short about $766,000, and that's kind of a fluid number. So we began to look internally first to where we could perhaps find some money. We have $94,000 right now programmed to 2 current projects from our what we call our Cal OES Transit Security dollars. We could reprogram those dollars with the exception of $20,000 that we've already promised to the county for a security camera at Courthouse Park. We could program those dollars back to this project. We've spoke with Cal OES folks. They're tentatively supportive of that idea. We just need to file the appropriate paperwork if we get that direction from you guys tonight. Low carbon transit operations dollars, that's some of the cap and trade dollars. We've got an estimate of $54,000. It's not spoken for next year. We'd like to just go ahead and plan on using that for this project. Certainly an eligible use. Every year we do budget $50,000 for bus stop improvements into a bus stop improvement fund. We would recommend go ahead and earmarking that for this project as well. That's out of our normal stream of how we do things here, of our annual budget. Then we have $176,980 that we had unobligated funds for 15-16. We have not put those towards any projects at this point in time. We were tentatively looking at perhaps doing something out in the Columbia area. We would propose to go ahead and bring those dollars into this project as a higher priority.
As you're going to this, could you mention whether they're restricted for specific use, or could they be used for other?
Virtually everything I've mentioned so far has to be used for public transit
Okay.
in one fashion or another.
All right. Okay.
The last thing, which does not meet that same criteria, is our restricted fund balance. As you know, in the public transit fund, we get funding through the local transportation funds, which are a percentage of the sales tax that pursuant to a body of legislation called the Transportation Development Act, are specifically earmarked for administration of our agency, as well as set aside for public transit, and then, set aside for non-motorized, very small amount, 2%. The remaining amount is available for meeting transit needs in the community. And that is the primary funding source of transit in Tuolumne County, as is most transit systems in California. Any funds that we don't utilize can be used for road maintenance purposes, and we pass that through in good years where we have good revenues and our operating costs stay stagnant or relatively the same. We have used those funds for public transit, but also to build up our restricted fund balance. And what I'm proposing is to make the $544,000 in restricted fund balance available for both cost increases on the facility as well as a backstop for the contingencies on the project.
John?
How much do we have in that fund balance? And then how do we rebuild it?
We have presently $544,000 in that fund, and we keep it in our fund each year. We first started and recognized the need for this when we separated from the county, because there's times where we're paying out bills, but yet we haven't received our state or federal funds. So we need to kind of keep that float, so to speak, in our funds. We built it up. My proposal would be that, and I don't expect to use the whole amount. I think I have a number in here of, let me look real quick. 390,000 of that. Again, that's an estimate pending a final budget estimate and bids for that matter. My intention would be replenish that over a 3-year period. For instance, if we need to replenish $390,000, we would bring in another $190,000 out of our local transportation fund allocations to build that up. That way, the hit to any pass-through, excuse me, to the city or county is minimal.
Just always want to make sure we have a way of getting back to where we were if we're going to spend that money, a plan to do it.
Yeah. Sorry, talked too long there.
Time of year.
So, the second thing I'm looking for a recommendation on is to begin with one more drink.
You got enough water? You want me to get you one?
I'm good. I think that should do it. The second thing I'm looking for is direction to go ahead and begin to implement this revised financing plan. If we do that, we will start to work with some of our state partners to refile our paperwork to move some of these funds I mentioned earlier, like the Cal EOS, the bond money, LTF, and then make available through a resolution the restricted fund balance. We can probably wait on the restricted fund balance until we get closer to the bid time.
Okay. We know we're going to need more money. So my question is we go ahead and move all this money, and all of a sudden, Bill comes up with some wonderful idea to save us $500,000. Is there any problem in moving it back? Or just reverse the process, or?
Well, first let me say that we won't be back in front of you with formal actions until February. By then, if Bill has any genius solutions here for us to save a lot of money, we'll be able to take that into consideration in that reprogramming. If we do, let's just say, reprogram, and heck, bids come in cheap, then we can start freeing up some of the money. Probably the first thing I'd do is free up the restricted fund balance, back to restricted fund balance. But then if there's even more available, I'd start working down the list to reprogram dollars in whatever's
You know I'm
easiest.
not picking on you. I'm just,
No, it's a fair question. We would work our way back down that list to look at the dollars that are most favorably or most easily moved back and forth.
Right, and he was asking the question I was thinking about, if you end up changing the path based on recommendations, suggestions, I was thinking the same thing. How do you put it back, or put the genie back in the bottle?
Well, this is one time we might be able to do it, I'm pretty sure of it.
Okay. You've been awful quiet.
Oh, I'll have plenty to say when we start going through it.
Okay.
So that's it. I'd encourage you to take any public comments on it, but with concluding remarks, is just approve the tentative reprogramming of the CalEOS funds, Low Carbon Transit Funds, LTF, PTMISEA, and restricted fund balance. And then direct staff to work with board members in a value engineering analysis to potentially reduce cost of the transit facility project.
Okay.
So you want that as a motion?
Yes,
Move
but
forward.
I would encourage to take public comment first.
Right. So at this time, anyone from the public wishing to talk on this item or speak to any of the issues that have been raised, this would be a good opportunity. And, all right, I'll entertain the motion.
So move.
Second?
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. All right, so item 8, enter into contract with Helen Foraker Advertising to sell advertising on Tuolumne County Transit. Did I say that wrong?
No, you're fine then.
Oh. Vehicles, and adopt resolution number 29-15, updating the advertising policies to be consistent with price structure outlined in proposal.
All right, members of the council. So this item is the final piece of the kind of rebranding effort that we started last year, where we looked to make a move in the overall look of Tuolumne County Transit. We decided on a new brand, and we started to transition the buses. And as part of that project, staff brought to you an idea of bringing a professional advertising sales contractor on board to really get the most out of our advertising potential, and then use those dollars to reinvest in the transit system, both in converting the remaining buses that haven't taken on the new look and brand in that direction. And then secondly, those advertising sales dollars are also available to the fare box recovery ratio. So that's the first piece of it. And then the second piece by resolution is if we want to move in this direction, then we need to make the advertising policy consistent with the new recommended fees that are part of the contract itself. So we're happy to take any questions about the project, and we also have Helen Foraker here, and so if you have questions of her and her team, she's also here with Eric, and all of a sudden I'm spacing Eric's last name, but he is a subcontractor to her. We can ask directly of them as well.
Okay, and the fees are?
They're identified in your resolution. For 1 month term on a trolley bus tail mount would be $100 per month. 1 month term on a non-trolley tail mount, $195. 1 month term on the bus side, passenger driver's side, $150 a month. 1 month on a trolley interior, $50 per month. And on it, that's about it. Helen can probably talk about the potential revenues, but she's potentially estimated about $4,000 a month.
Well, I was interrupted when I was reading this, and I didn't find the total per cost of the contract is how much with...
Well, she gets 50% of the sales.
She gets
And
50%
so her
of sales.
estimate is about $80,000 annually, probably, taking some time to ramp up in that regards, but I'm sure she could describe that in greater detail. So we split the value.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know how long we think that it would take to maximize the program. Question?
I'd invite her to the mic and see what Helen's got to say.
Is Helen in the room?
Yeah. Come on.
Somebody's being shy or doesn't want to come up. Come on up.
Can't be shy, she's in
Okay, so, potentially, I could probably get everything sold within 6 months.
Within 6 months?
Yeah,
And-
that would be my goal. I mean,
Okay,
it
in
really
6
depends.
months, that number of dollars is how much,
The total would be, $8,175 per month.
Per month?
So split that in two, comes to about $4,088. And that's if everything is sold.
Okay. Pay for dinner almost.
One of the constraints at the outset, as you can see in your packet here, is the new graphic. The rebranded buses have 3 separate advertising opportunities. The current buses, really it's the tail mounts that are being sold, and so as we move each bus to the new brand, it'll gain steam more quickly because we'll have more and more spaces that we can sell.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
What's your timing on the rebranding of the other buses? Since that's part of this discussion.
Well, we did the first 4 already, and that was just funding that we had as part of the purchase of the buses themselves. So now we have a fairly good cost estimate on what it costs. So I think we can rebrand the entire fleet. I think we have about 8 buses still to do, and so that doesn't count. We're not going to rebrand the trolleys, obviously. The ski bus doesn't get rebranded. Some of the buses that are currently in the fleet are due to be surplused. So I think we have 8 remaining buses that we'd like to do, and as we get closer to that maximized amount of $3,000 or $4,000 per month, we essentially would be able to do 1 bus per month. So a little over about 3/4 of the year.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we adopt Resolution 2915, setting a new advertising pricing structure.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. All right, item 9. Approve the $620,615 bus purchase and authorize the executive director to sign the purchase orders.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as you might recall, in April 2015, we were awarded $650,344 in congestion mitigation air quality funds to purchase 5 new transit buses. We're seeking to purchase buses off the state contract bid, and we're looking at 5 buses for this purchase, and we due to the large amount of this cost, we're seeking your approval on this contract. It was competitively bid out by the state.
Okay.
Excuse me, CalAct bid.
Who?
CalAct. CalAct is the California Association of Coordinated Transit. So they bid buses out for all the small operators, and we just pick off their list.
Okay.
But question, we're looking at purchasing one at 240 horsepower and one at 280. The reasoning, we just don't go with a higher horsepower bus on all of them?
We kind of go off of what our maintenance guy recommends, and the 280 is a bus that we plan on using on Route 2 up towards Dodge Ridge, Sierra Village. The other one is just a larger bus that'll operate on more lower levels, probably use a little less fuel this way.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do I have any public comment on this? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the $620,615.75 in bus purchases and authorize the executive director to sign the purchase orders.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Thank you. All right, looks like item 10, reports.
Just 2 reports, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to point out we have a memo from Denise Bergamaschi, who was at the health fair. As you know, we participate in a lot of community events trying to promote Tuolumne County Transit. We got a lot of good feedback from our riders as well as other people in the community about our services, and I just wanted to pass that along. And thank Denise for doing that. It's nice to get reports back on that.
Yeah, I especially like the free jackets she was giving away to everybody that came through there.
Now I know where my jacket is. Second report is, I just want to mention that the Dodge Ridge Ski Bus will start this coming weekend and continue all the way till January 3rd. I can personally attest that the snow is quite good up at Dodge Ridge, and with the incoming storms, it's going to stay good for a while, I think.
It's all good news, isn't it?
It's excellent news. And then finally, I want to mention after January 3rd, we'll be open for service between Sonora and Dodge Ridge on weekends and holidays. So people can reserve their tickets online, and for more information, go to tuolumnecountytransit.com. That's it.
Very good. All right, with that, we will adjourn the Tuolumne County Transit Agency and give us a minute or two to apparently go to a revised Transportation Council agenda. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Make
We
sure
had
I
a-
get the right one. All right, with that, we'll begin the Tuolumne County Transportation Council agenda. At this time, anyone from the public wishing to speak, this will be that opportunity. Seeing none, I'll go to the consent calendar. Let me make sure I have the right one. I do. Item 2, approval of the October 7, 2015 meeting minutes. Item 3, adoption of the proposed schedule of the TAC, CAC, and TCTC/TCTA meetings dated for calendar year 2016. Review TCTC's comment letter sent to the Strategic Growth Council about the draft Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program Guidelines. And item 5, approval of reappointment and acceptance of resignation to the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council. I'll entertain a motion for the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all approved. All right, and if I understood correctly, we're going to move item 11 up in the interest of time. Item 11, report on settlement agreement between Caltrans and Tykert MCM regarding fines from the California Regional Water Quality Board, unanticipated costs related to storm water management work, and consideration of approving resolution number 536-15, supporting a supplemental funds request to the California Transportation Commission.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as you might recall, we had a special meeting to discuss the additional cost related to stormwater management of the East Sonora bypass and a supplemental funds request from Caltrans. In that supplemental funds request of $1.8 million to the California Transportation Commission, it was identified that our 30% share would be $540,000. No action was taken at the special meeting. We have agendized this item again for your consideration. Today, we're requesting that you go ahead and approve the revised resolution that should be in your packet. That's Resolution 536-15. The difference from the earlier version of that is that we removed the specific dollar amount. Since we're still doing some research on the Caltrans sold properties to ensure that they're part of the relinquished route. We're not totally sure, so we want to make sure that we don't get too specific in the resolution, but whatever funds are available could be then used for our share. I did speak earlier today with Laurel Jansen of the California Transportation Commission staff. She's the deputy director up there. To get some feedback on our proposal. She says that they like the proposal. It helps them specifically because in a year where there's not much money in the STIP, this takes some pressure off to find new money. And they're doing what they can in terms of research to make sure that this is all something that they can ultimately put in front of the commission, but again, they're very supportive of it, and they're going to try and make it work, is what I'm told. The dollars that have been sold, she clarified for me, any dollars that have been sold automatically go into the state general fund, And when the new state budget's approved, it just comes off the top what if the CTC approves this action. So the process would be that you would approve this resolution requesting the proceeds from excess properties sold along the relinquished route. Approve that resolution, we send it to the CTC, then they would agendize it at a future meeting, most likely their January meeting, with a CTC resolution doing much the same, again, programming these funds towards the East North Bypass cost overruns. We do have Cliff Adams here, again, the construction manager, and Samuel Jordan from the district that can answer any questions you have, but I didn't want to get into the report too much since we went over it extensively at your special meeting.
At the special meeting, there was some discussion about you attending a meeting in Southern California to find out where we're going to go with that. Is that correct, or? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Come on up. You can share a table with me here.
Yes, sir. The item was actually on the December agenda for CTC, but we decided to pull it because we weren't really ready to go.
Okay, that's right. So it's January that you go down there.
That is correct.
I'm sorry.
We're going to go to January. Yes.
So it's scheduled for Riverside and Southern California.
Okay, my mind doesn't work well sometimes, so I'm only off a month. So, all right, that was my question. We're still going to look at it at that meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
For the CTC to take action, we need to pass this resolution, though.
Okay.
Okay. Bill, anything?
No.
Any other questions? So I'll entertain a motion on item 11.
You want to call for public comment?
Thank you. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on item 11? This would be that time. All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt Resolution 536-15, approving funding the East and North Bypass Stage 2 unanticipated stormwater management construction costs and proceed with the sales of excess right-of-way along the relinquished Route 108.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Excuse me. All right, item 6, discussion and approval of projects for the Tuolumne County Transportation Council draft overall work program for fiscal year 16-17.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As you know, each year we develop an overall work program that identifies all the different items the staff's going to work on with the TCTC. We try and include everything that we're aware of that is both required statutorily, but also it aligns with the goals and objectives of the TCTC, Caltrans, and federal guidance that we get. We have provided in the attachments a list of those work activities, but this is the opportunity, before we get into a very detailed budget process and write-up of the work program, this is an opportunity to kind of tell us, hey, if there's another thing that you haven't got on your list that you should be thinking about and looking at bringing back to us at a later date. It's a fairly informal process, but we just want to get your input very early in the process.
Okay.
While you're looking at that, I should probably also mention that we've had quite a few discussions lately with Caltrans audits. They are asking us to, they're basically telling us that we cannot fund what they call indirect cost, such as training, copy machine, things of that nature with our rural planning assistance funds or our RSTP exchange funds. We don't know where we would, potentially we could use them on our local transportation funds. That's a hit on some potentially pass-through funds to the city and the county. We're still vetting that issue with Caltrans. And we've kind of come to the conclusion that we're probably going to have to do what they call an indirect cost proposal that then does let us spread those costs back over the other funding sources. So you're going to see some changes in your budget next year that are being required by Caltrans. It's just a different way of accounting for costs that are already there, embedded in your system, but it's going to change how we do our budget.
More specific?
More specific on how we deal with indirect cost, maybe less specific on which projects were, the details of each project, I guess you could say.
So are there any projects on the RTP you might want to talk to or just highlight as a focus for the public?
That's a good question. One thing I should probably mention is that we do have a couple grant applications getting ready to go in. One is a transit development plan, which will update our whole plan for public transit, looking ahead 5 years, dealing with the potential of having to have a zero carbon emission fleet someday, which appears to be coming our way, but there's just not a lot of clarity on how rurals will be impacted. We're still seeking clarity in that regards. If we get that grant, it will be amended into the work program. And then secondly, we did get direction from you earlier this year to put in a grant, Sustainable Community Planning Grant, to look at a complete street design for Highway 49 from Jamestown up to Sonora and Sonora up towards Parrots Ferry Road. So again, if that gets approved, we will incorporate that into the work program. We have had some initial discussions with Tim Miller and Dennis Agar about potentially studying the possibility of relinquishing Highway 49 through the city of Sonora back to the city. I don't know that conversation's advancing fast enough to get into a grant, which is due by the first of the year. So I'm just going to throw a couple of those things out.
What would be the advantage of that transfer?
Well, you'd have to talk to the city, but in my opinion, you get control of the highway, and any closures and events and whatnot, you don't have to, burden with Caltrans in that regards. There's also, while there's cost involved in ownership of a roadway, there's opportunities to negotiate with Caltrans in that they, in a typical relinquishment, they give it to you in a good state of repair, meaning they probably do an overlay and make sure all the drainage is working, and there you go. In this situation, they're willing to pay for other cost, whatever the city would propose. For instance, if the city wanted to get a lot more things like, say, Vision Sonora improvements done, the Caltrans may be willing to pay for those things as a sweetener to then take the highway in. Maybe cut them a check for the cost of that. And if we did a study, it would identify what are the long-term costs of owning the highway, and then what's the cost of maybe some of the improvements the city would like to see done, and create a balanced transfer of the ownership of the highway. That would be the idea of a study. But, that's really, the city needs to decide if that's something that they even want to pursue a little more. So getting back to the work program, I think the big focus next year is going to be the transit center, getting that out, getting it constructed, trying to keep cost under control. Secondly, I think a big factor for us is going to be the regional transportation plan. It's well overdue at this point. We have it about 95% drafted. We got to just finish it out and get it out. You'll see on your agenda tonight an NOP is going out on that. That's probably the other big highlight of the year. I should probably also point out, I know, John, it's an interest on the Board of Supervisors. Once we get the RTP done and the general plan update approved, we'll be looking at an update of the regional traffic impact fee program.
Nothing to do.
And then a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. For a motion. Now I gotta find them. What do I do with the motion? Is there
Just a motion to approve the overall work program for fiscal year 2016-17. Is that good enough?
I think so.
That works.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, looks like item 7. Review the notice of preparation of a draft environmental impact report for the regional transportation plan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as I just mentioned to you, next year we will be releasing a draft of the Regional Transportation Improvement Program. We've determined that a environmental impact report is appropriate for this project, and we are partnering with the county in that regards to save some money on consultant cost. What we're doing here tonight is just letting you know that we're sending out a notice of preparation to federal and state agencies as well as local agencies to get their input on what we need to make sure we consider in the environmental impact report. It's just an information item.
Okay. So no action on our part?
No action required.
I just want to clarify. All right. Any questions? Any public comment? Seeing none. Item 8. Review Caltrans's draft 2016 State Highway Operation and Protection Program SHOP list of projects for Tuolumne County and approve TCTC's letter identifying a prioritized list of future SHOP candidate projects.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As you will note in your staff report and in the attached document from Caltrans, District 10 is planning $77 million worth of improvements on the state highway system in the 2016 SHOP, and for that we're very grateful, of course. That's a significant increase from the $19 million that was in the 2014 SHOP. We've noted that Caltrans, in our letter to Caltrans, we noted that we do appreciate that and recognize the big investments they've made in Tuolumne County. We've noted a few projects, such as the Yosemite Junction Improvement Project is in the SHOP. That's a safety project, rockfall mitigation project up near Strawberry, pavement rehabilitation projects on 120 all the way from Elder Lane in Groveland to the Yosemite National Park entrance, and slope stabilization, 2 locations on 120 near Cherry Lake Road and Packard Canyon Road are all significant projects that have been added to the SHOP. Caltrans is embarking on an era, probably more so in the 2018 SHOP, of coordinating efforts with local agencies and getting input to the SHOP process. And we felt it was a good idea to not wait for the 2018 SHOP to come out and then give comment, but instead begin to identify what we consider high priority candidate projects for them to consider. And you'll see in your attachments a fairly extensive list of projects, safety projects and curve corrections and whatnot, projects that we are suggesting that they look at. We've sent this letter out, but we can certainly add, because there was a deadline, by the way. We can add projects if we missed anything.
I'm honestly haven't read the letter because I can't find it, but I'm sure it's here.
I missed it several times too, but it's
One of the things that concerns me is on the SHOP program, and if we hadn't had so many meetings on this, is the Groveland crosswalks. The ones where we have that high step where you come off of the walkway, and we have more than one trip and falls. Now, Caltrans has had engineers up there, they've had They've had a camera on there for a couple weeks this last summer, and of any complaint I get about Caltrans or the highway, it's those crosswalks in downtown Groveland. And we all reviewed it, we all looked at it, and at the meetings that we had, I was under the impression that it was going to go right along with the restriping. The restriping was great. I mean, they did a really good job. And I know they're working on where the people fall into the ditch walking from the park. Somebody put up a railing there. I don't know if it was the owner of Caltrans, but somebody put one up because, it just keeps happening. So, how, in 2020, I'll be 70-something years old in 2020. I'd like to see that crosswalk fixed before that.
Yeah.
So how do we get them to look at it differently?
I've invited Sam Hack, she's the deputy director down at District 10, who's responsible for the shop maintenance operation program side of the house, to come out to your February meeting and give an update on shop projects that are in the planning phase, are in the design phase, environmental, and then going to construction next summer. That'd be a great time for her to answer that question for you. She's agreed to come to the February meeting and give a presentation.
We're going to Groveland, I'll buy her lunch. I mean, because if you don't see it, you don't realize what a problem that step is for.
I will see if she'll come up a few hours early and we can go out and take a look at things in Groveland before the meeting. I can't guarantee anything.
Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? All right, any public comment on item 8? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
So moved as presented.
Second.
Motion and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And seeing none opposed, motion carries. All right, item 9, consideration of a letter to Caltrans regarding the need for improved signage on State Route 120 at Old Priest Grade.
Yes, as you might recall, we have had numerous discussions about the need for additional signage on 120 related to Priest Grade. And we have had input from our members of our Citizen Advisory Committee as well to this effect. So we're going to try again with another letter to Caltrans. The Citizen Advisory Committee member did make his viewpoints known to the the Caltrans representative at the Citizen Advisory Committee meeting. And I just got word yesterday, that they have approved one additional sign on Priest Grade. Of course, I've replied that we need signs in both directions at the top and the bottom of the grade. I haven't yet heard back. This letter will help clarify what we believe our needs to be. And like you mentioned on the prior item, I think a meeting or lunch in Groveland is appropriate to let them see it for themselves. Hopefully, I don't know what the traffic's like going to Yosemite on these cold days, but it's always helpful. There's lots of lost tourists up there.
Can't compare to summer. You've been there.
Yeah.
Watch what happens. So maybe a 3-day holiday or prior to it or something like that. But
Yeah, maybe.
it's a tourist problem. It's not a local problem. So what you're seeing this time of year is going to be local people know that you don't come up New Priest Grade and turn down Old Priest Grade to get Yosemite.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm remiss in not introducing Betty Kibble, who's here tonight from Caltrans. She is replacing Maria Rodriguez, who's retired. And Carl wasn't able to make it tonight, but I've noticed Betty's taken a few notes over there, and hopefully she'll help us.
Good.
She will
She's
certainly.
been taking a few notes.
She
Thank you.
make a huge impression with this group if she can help us with that signage. I know she doesn't have control over it, but she can certainly put a bug in somebody's ear.
Only suggestion, I like the letter. I just, coming from another career, pictures or a map would
Okay.
really help.
We'll add that. I agree.
Yeah, I know on
Good
accident
idea.
investigations, pictures told more than the reading and the narrative that tended to get boring, or a map that would depict those locations that you want. But I specifically agree with John, because I used to have those, I'll say, battles with Caltrans when I used to complain about the speed surveys, is that they really need to come up during our high traffic days, which are those holidays during pretty much the summer, starting Memorial Day on through Labor Day, I believe. Because the rest of the time it's pretty, not too bad, but add that traffic and it really significantly impacts what goes on up here.
Okay, we will add pictures.
Okay. Any public comment on item 8? All right, seeing none, entertain a motion.
Approve the correspondence? Is that what we're doing? On the shop program? Never mind.
Am I on?
Number 9.
Oh,
Number 9, sorry about that. I threw you off.
All right. Okay,
Sorry.
well, approve the TCTC's letter to Caltrans with the recommended changes that Chairman Aiello has stated.
He's getting carried away.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries.
It's getting late, Mike.
Oh, I know. All right. Item 10, I gotta make sure I get these right. Adopt Resolution 535-15, approving the 2016 Regional Transportation Improvement Program.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Diane Bynum of our staff has done a great job on preparing the Regional Transportation Improvement Program for this cycle, and I'm going to ask her to present it for you.
Thank you, Darren. Good afternoon. As you might recall, every 2 years, the Transportation Council adopts the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, and that programs transportation projects for our region based on the priorities in the Regional Transportation Plan. Then that RTIP is then submitted to the California Transportation Commission, and those projects are programmed into the State Transportation Improvement Program. Every STIP cycle, the California Transportation Commission adopts a fund estimate for that cycle that covers state and federal funding that might be available in the 5-year STIP. As you might have heard, this STIP cycle does not include any new funding for Tuolumne County. So most of it is moving projects forward or changing the schedules of existing projects. We did have an unprogrammed balance from the last STIP cycle of $336,000. A small amount, but this board previously committed those funds to the city's Washington Street, Stockton Road Corridor Improvements Project. As you might recall, that was required to allow the project to be fully funded at the time we programmed it. In addition to projects, the RTIP allows us to program 5% of our regional shares toward the planning, programming, and monitoring program. And this funding is critical to TCTC operations and as far as the overall work program, managing projects, and funding your staff. So although there aren't any new funds, we do currently have PPM funding through fiscal year 2018-19. So we're covered for another few years, and hopefully the next STIP cycle, which will be the 2018 cycle, will allow us to program some additional funds into the future. So at the present time, we're just going to keep the existing funds. 2 projects. Oh, John?
Is there something that we're, I don't want to say doing wrong, but something that we're not doing that leaves us out of that funding cycle? Or is there something we can do to get into it? I mean,
Do you mean to allow more regional shares to be
Yeah.
available?
yeah.
Yeah, it's just short. Do you want to speak on the revenue availability?
Yeah, I think this is the CTC adopts a STIP fund estimate. And as you might recall, during the summer, they typically will adopt that in May or June, or at least put out an estimate, which they did do, which was not a good estimate. It's the numbers you see we have to deal with today, which is no new money. Everybody knows that with the state gas taxes and more fuel-efficient cars, the trend line is flat to downward trend. There was a lot of talk about special transportation sessions this year to increase revenues so that we'd have more money in the STIP. It didn't happen. And then at the same time, you've got increasing maintenance cost on the state highway system, which has first dibs, so to speak, on the available dollars. So there's basically no money that's passed through to capacity increasing projects in the STIP, statewide.
Yeah, okay. At CSAC here a couple weeks ago, I did attend a session that did talk about highway funding, and no one was even thinking about having any money available. That just bogged down, so.
Yeah, the
Light a fire on them, would you?
well, what I get back on these suggestions is that we need to be a self-help county, which means pass a sales tax measure on our local citizens to generate the revenue that we need. Self-help. I think we all know that would not be very popular.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Just to speak a little briefly on a couple of carryover projects from the current RTIP, the Peaceful Oak Road and State Route 108 ramps project. You might recall that was added in the last STIP cycle. Funding became available from cost savings from the Stage 2 project. Caltrans has revised the schedule for that project. They're currently 30% complete with the PS&E phase of the project, and they anticipate completing that by this coming May. So that would put the project on schedule for construction contract award in January of 2017. So based on this schedule, Caltrans has requested that we move the construction funding up 1 year. So it's currently programmed in 2017-18, and they're requesting it a year in advance. So that would be moving about $8.3 million forward. We have discussed this with CTC staff, and they're open to us proposing that. Although there is funding shortfalls, we're going to move forward with that recommendation upon your approval.
That'd be pretty good news for those businesses, wouldn't it?
All right. The other carryover project, as you might recall, is the Monoway Operational and Safety Project. And this project was generated based on the relinquishment of a segment of Monoway after completion of the Stage 2 project. And this funds the improvements along Monoway and some of the secondary roads to improve the standards in the traffic and the some of the pedestrian shoulders. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. That project is moving.
Must be the time of year.
Yeah. That project is actually struggling in the environmental phase, and they have requested that we move the right-of-way funding and the construction funding out 1 year to allow more time to complete the environmental work on that project. So that's what this RTIP will be proposing.
So you've discussed all this with Duke and everything?
It was their request.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's, that road's in pretty bad shape.
This would move construction into, from fiscal year 17-18 to 18-19.
All right, so we get the on-off ramp and delay on this one.
Right.
Part of the benefit of that, though, is you're building the ramps.
Right.
You're building the ramps and the construction related to Monoway. You're separating that time frame. So when you're in that Mono Way and you're doing a lot of lane closures or road closures for construction, you've got a full access ramp at Peaceful
And
Oak.
then once the ramps are in, then you can come back and improve Mono Way.
Exactly.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And the new project in the RTIP is actually not new to this, to the Transportation Council, but new to the RTIP, and it just basically formally programs that $336,000 that I discussed earlier to the city's Washington Street, Stockton Road Corridor Improvements Project. So that allows that project to be fully funded. That was previously approved in your call for projects for congestion mitigation and air quality funding, which is currently funding the pre-construction phases. So with that being said, I do want to mention that the RTIP was actually due yesterday. So because of the way the meeting fell, we went ahead and submitted the RTIP ahead of time so that we could meet the deadline. If there are any changes that are proposed today, we can certainly move those forward quickly.
Okay, any questions, comments? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board for a motion.
Make a motion as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 11, we've already covered. Reports. Did I miss something?
No.
Okay.
You got it. And I have no reports tonight, other than the executive director report that I provided in your packet. Oh, but Betty may.
I was going to ask Betty. She's been very energetic with her notes. And I think we have it on camera, so we have a historical document over here.
She's going to need a microphone now. I don't know why there's one missing.
It's because it's broken and I don't have enough authority to get it fixed, apparently.
Don't worry, that's happening to the city too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Council. It's a pleasure to be here. Carl gave me some item notes for you. The first one is the ITSP has been adopted by the CTC. That's the Interregional Strategic Plan. The second is the CTP 2040 status. Release and 30-day circulation of the final report is anticipated soon. Adoption is expected early 2016. And then thank you for local input on pre-grade and the shop concerns. He also said Darren continues to work with the district and decisions will consider the latest requests from TCTC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other, boy, you almost got me. I got to get you to teach Duke York.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Ayala, and I will be brief. Just real quickly, the Sonora Area Foundation created the Trail Me About It Fund, and we got our very first project completed. A group out of the Twain Harte, who was the California Naturalist group up there, led by Kathy Joy and Elaine Gorman, have created a new map for the section of the Sugar Pine Railroad Trail between Twain Harte and Lyons Reservoir. They did a phenomenal job, and they've highlighted a bunch of interpretive points along that 5-mile stretch. They've given directions to the trailhead, and as you'll notice in your map, there's a bunch of points that don't necessarily have interpretation, but they're calling something out. You can go to the Tuolumne County Trails website and learn more about each of those points. They have written a narrative description, so it's a trail worth going to kind of over and over again. So we wanted to say thanks to the Sonora Area Foundation and the Naturalist Group for moving forward this very first project as part of the program.
So this whole area is ready to walk and learn and enjoy?
That's correct.
That is outstanding.
And it's posted on the Tuolumne County Trails website, tuolumnecountytrails.com. And you'll find a whole bunch of trail maps there, including this one now. Thank you.
So we do have this with the Visitors Bureau
We do.
Get copies
Yeah,
of it?
Lisa Mayo was very pleased to see this project, and they got a whole bunch of them.
Great, thank you.
Don't forget somebody else.
The Chamber of Commerce will get them in short order.
You'd be surprised how many visitors we get.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting. All right, any other reports? At that point, since Ron just came back, looks like we have a perfect opportunity to adjourn the Tuolumne County Transportation Council.
All right.
Meeting adjourned. Were you waiting out there just waiting to listen?